eliminated. Now, Congress should always retain the power and not give it up so that it can raise those tariffs in rare circumstances, but circumstances that do somewhat arise, in which critical infrastructure necessary for the survival of the United States defense system becomes threatened by a foreign nation predatorily going after key industries like steel manufacturers, for instance. We can't have a safe, reliable, effective defense system if we lose our ability to produce steel in this country, and if a foreign nation, say a foreign communist nation, starts dumping steel into our market to an extreme degree at below cost prices in order to shut down our steel making capacity. We need to be aware of that and ready to respond
which we didn't do.
where appropriate, so as to make sure that that doesn't happen. But we need to not be too quick to act on that, because sometimes it's a short-term thing. Sometimes we can call their bluff by just buying up lots of low-cost steel and driving them into bankruptcy, so to speak, by doing that. But wherever it's necessary, Congress can be prepared to raise those tariffs. Yes, ma'am.
I really like what you've been saying about the things that you want to do in the future. However, with the majority held by Democrats in the House, the Senate, and the presidency, a lot of those things are going to be difficult for the next 2 to 4 years. So, looking into the future, I think that the next thing that the administration is going to tackle is immigration. I don't say illegal immigration, because I think what they want to do is probably a blanket amnesty type thing.
So as to give them 30 million
right,
new voters?
Right, exactly. Yeah. So, to hopefully get him reelected. So, I guess my question is, how do you feel that the legal immigration system could be reformed, because it does need to be? And what things do you not support as far as illegal immigration or reforming the legal immigration system?
Okay. I'm opposed to amnesty in any form, as defined by either granting them citizenship or otherwise granting them a reward for having broken our laws and entering our country illegally. I am opposed to whatever it is that they're about to do, insofar as I suspect whatever it is that they're about to do amounts to some form of amnesty, probably amnesty in its fullest, meaning granting citizenship wholesale. I think that the appropriate response is to enforce existing immigration law, which is that you go after people who are knowingly breaking our laws, knowingly committing a federal offense by hiring a known illegal alien. If we did that, fined them, imprisoned them, and did the other things that were authorized under existing law to do, and simultaneously became more aggressive about withholding welfare benefits from illegal aliens. We did both of those things, and then buffered that by resolving the anchor baby problem, passing federal legislation saying that a child born in the United States isn't a citizen simply because it happens to have been born here. The 14th Amendment says that you become a citizen of the United States and of the state in which you reside if you're born in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof. In my mind, you're not subject to the jurisdiction thereof if you're here outside the jurisdictional authorization of Congress. In other words, if you broke our laws getting here, you're not a citizen just because you were born here. That would facilitate the withholding of welfare benefits from those people who are here illegally. Because one of the ways that illegal aliens get around this right now is that the parents might be illegal, but the child is a citizen, and the child might be entitled to food stamps, WIC, whatever program it is, public housing assistance, I don't know. The parents might be receiving that, and that's wrong. So you solve that problem, you increase the ability to withhold welfare benefits from illegal aliens. If we do those things, those people will start to leave en masse. They'll leave on their own. They didn't come here because they love baseball, hot dogs, apple pie, and Chevrolet. Most of them didn't come here because they want citizenship. They came here because they want jobs, they want to be able to support their families. My heart goes out to them. They come from difficult circumstances, and they just want to feed their families. But it's the wrong way to feed their families, to come here and break our laws in the process. Finally, as to the part of your question that deals with what would I do about legal immigration, one of the reasons why we have this massive spike in illegal immigration is because I think our government's been too slow to respond in massive spikes in the demand for labor. And so we need to be equipped to respond better to the market when there is a spike in demand for short-term unskilled labor. We need to issue more short-term worker permits so that workers come in and so that employers won't be so tempted to turn to the black labor market, to the illegal labor market. Yes?
I just was thinking about limited government and how it's so huge right now. In a sense, firing a whole bunch of people, half of government, all the e-groups that you mentioned earlier. What do you say to those people that get fired because of limited government? I mean, that's half of government. What do you say to the people that are working for it right now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
First of all,
Get a job.
But, you know,
Yeah.
10% of Americans don't have jobs right now. My brother.
no, you're right. You're right. This is not something that we do overnight. This is something that, in the best case scenario, will take it at least years, and it may take, it probably will take a decade or two to accomplish. So you don't fire all of them immediately, but what you do immediately is, particularly in those departments that are going to be eliminated, you immediately impose categorical hiring freeze, which you would think when we're $14 trillion in debt and we're still running deficits between $1 and $2 trillion per year, you would think they would do that anyway, but not so. They're still expanding. They're still spending like kids in a candy store. But you immediately impose a categorical hiring moratorium. There is a lot of attrition in government jobs. Not as much as we would like there to be, but there is a fair amount of attrition. So when you freeze that and you keep that freeze in place for a while, you prepare the system for the transformation that will be coming. Then you start to tell people this program will be phased out within the next few years, and you allow people to retrain and recertify. Some of them can get jobs in programs that are not going to be axed, but you give the system time to respond. And we'll have to do the same thing as we start to phase out other government programs that don't involve hiring people, but involve redistributions of wealth, so as to give Americans a chance to prepare for the fact that we shouldn't be doing those programs anyway. We're going to have to phase those out over time as well. Yes?
So part of reducing government, they talked about getting government out of the education system, which I think should be run by the state, but does that mean that we cut off the funding that the government is giving to the state? And if so, how does the state generate that revenue that the federal government was giving them in the first place?
Most of the problem, most of what the U.S. Department of Education does is grant money to the states. That's why they have their power. That's what gives them their
Right.
power.
And so if you take that away, I mean, if Utah can make up the surplus themselves, we can tell the federal government we don't need your money.
Where
Right.
do they get it from?
Exactly.
So that's the thing, is
They-
we have to generate that money
They get it.
somehow.
They get it from us in the first place.
Right.
So they have us all open our wallets. We have to give them a bunch of money. They take all that money back to Washington. They take out a huge cut for them, you know, their service fee, so to speak, and then they distribute it back to the states under the system of what Mark Levin calls crony federalism. The states have to kiss the ring of Congress, and then they're given this laundry list of requirements in the form of federal regulations that they have to comply with. It seems to me that it would be a heck of a lot more efficient for that money to stay in our wallets, and to the extent that the states need to be funding education better, which some of them, including our own, probably do, then it just taxes the people directly for that, and the people pay that money to the state. There's more money there because the big cut is not being taken out of it in Washington, and then the state decides on a state and a local level how that money is going to be spent. That's far more efficient. But yeah, we have to cut the federal funds because it's the federal funds that give government the power over the state's management of its own education system. Yes?
First, I'm an ex-school board director